this video, I want to talk about the very important skill for online classes of creating and maintaining discussion, such as on a discussion board, a blog, or a wiki, as long as the main point is trading ideas with others. One of the main questions we want to ask is what makes for a quality posting? What kinds of characteristics would a good post have? Well, I'm going to borrow from Botcher and Conrad's The Online Teaching Survival Guide. They talk about quality discussion prompts and responses that have 7 different characteristics. The first is that the post be substantial. Messages should relate to the subject matter and provide information, opinions, or questions about that subject matter. They should be concise. Make messages that are not several screens long, because people aren't going to be able to reply to those quite as easily. You want to be serious and substantial, but keep it to a reasonable size so that people can really dig into the ideas that you have there. No fluff or filler in your replies. You also want to be provocative. Now, not provocative in the sense that you want to provoke somebody's anger, but you want to write messages that prompt others to reply to your questions, reply to your responses, or possibly even to object to what you have to say, but to do so in a way that isn't just for shock value. You want your messages to be explanatory. A good message explores, explains, or expands on a concept or a connection that's being made. Of course, you want to be timely. A good member of a learning community gets onto the message boards regularly and replies in a timely fashion. If you come in 2 weeks later and reply to something, you're not really going to add much to the discussion because the discussion will have already moved on without you. Next, you want to be logical. Your messages should contain a clearly stated conclusion or thesis, and you want to support those with premises, reasons, evidence, or grounds for the belief that you're presenting. And you want to produce these in a way that flows from beginning to end in a logical manner. And lastly, you want to be grammatical. A good, clear, concise message should be well written. Should be free of typos, sentence fragments, run-on sentences. Try to get out extraneous words as much as you can. Use discussion boards to practice good grammar. This is not just you zipping off an email to your grandmother. This is you participating in a scholarly conversation. So make sure that your writing reflects the care and attention that you want to bring to that. Well, what if you are the person who is asking questions? How is it that you develop a good prompt for people to reply to, and to do so enthusiastically in an engaged manner? The first and probably most important thing to do is to ask open-ended questions. That means not a question that can simply be answered yes or no, but that gets people to perhaps tell a story or to have to expound on what it is they want to talk about. Also, require respondents to use the texts. If you're in a class, especially, probably you've had to do readings that are going along with the concepts that you're learning for that week. Make sure that people have to go back to the text. Part of the reason to have these discussions is to really not only dive into the material and make sure that it's been learned, but also to make people go back and reconsider things that they may have forgotten. So if you can make people go back to the text, that will be all the better for their learning. Also, make sure that you consider engagement beyond just the personal opinion or the summary. And I think particularly for students who are new to doing discussion boards, oftentimes what they want to do is they want to take a provocative or controversial kind of position and then just have people sort of give their personal opinion or tell a personal experience that is related. Or they want people to simply summarize what the readings had to say. List out the 5 things that X author had as their core concepts. Now, those can be very important, valuable learning opportunities, asking about personal opinion, personal experience, or summarizing things. But don't always do that. Have opportunities for people to go beyond and to stretch their knowledge to new applications. So you could do things like have them respond to current events. Imagine a conversation between 2 authors. So you have an author that you read maybe last week, have them in conversation with the author for this week. And if they particularly have differing opinions, how would those opinions differ? How might they be similar? Those kinds of things. Ask for readers to critique the argument. One of the critical thinking tasks that is very important in scholarship particularly is to take the ideas that you've read, but not always take them as the absolute truth, to find out where the holes are so that you can make advances on where somebody might have a gap in their scholarship. Or you might have readers pick an important or confusing quote out of the readings for that week and really have them talk through, well, why is it that quote you thought was important? Or what about the quote was confusing for you? What didn't you understand? So that's one that's a great example of making them go back to the text and look for ways that the text can inform their answer. And I have the etc. there because the etc. is very important. There's hundreds and hundreds of activities and prompts that you can use in a discussion board to get people to think beyond just personal opinion or summarizing the text. Now, things that we haven't really talked about before, but that are crucially important, particularly if you're talking about a graduate class, is using the readings. For most graduate classes, there are lots of readings to be done, so make the valuable activity of going back to the text central to the prompt that you're trying to make. And of course, you want to make sure to be scholarly in both the practices and the tone that you're using. In practices, I mean a scholar cites their sources. A scholar tries to phrase things in ways that are serious, in ways that speak to the discipline, the terms that are used in that discipline, but also the tone of the piece overall. It's becoming very common, I think, online to be very critical of other people, to attack other people for their beliefs, and not to really, try to dig into why another person believes what they do. So try to make sure in a scholarly way that you are trying to explore all avenues and respecting differences of opinion, different ideas, different beliefs, those kinds of things. One thing that I might suggest to you is that you look up netiquette, if you will, and you can see down there at the bottom there's a link to some rules, or netiquette, that's etiquette for the internet. Thinking about the ways that we act when we're online, and thinking about the context of where we are online, who our audience is, and treating other people with the kind of respect that we want for ourselves. So if you follow all those practices, I think you'll do a wonderful job at discussion boards in an online class. Thanks.